My wife cheated, but my mom defended her. It's just a mistake. Don't ruin the family. I cut them both off. Now mom's hospitalized and wants to mend bridges. Should I even care? All right, Reddit, this one's messy. My wife cheated on me, and instead of having my back, my own mother took her side, told me I was overreacting and needed to forgive one mistake. I walked away from both of them. Fast forward 8 months, and mom's in the hospital asking to mend bridges before it's too late. Here's the whole story. I'm 35 male, a civil engineer. Been working my way up at a mid-sized firm for the past decade, making decent money designing commercial buildings and infrastructure projects. Not exciting dinner conversation, but it pays well and keeps me busy. Own my house outright after my grandfather left me some money when I passed, which I used to pay off the mortgage early. No debt, solid retirement account, living a pretty stable life. My wife Rachel, 33 female, worked as an office manager at a dental practice. We'd been married for 7 years, together for 9. Met through mutual friends at a barbecue, dated for 2 years before I proposed. Standard relationship trajectory. Nothing dramatic. Just two people who got along well and decided to build a life together. The first few years were solid. We bought the house, fixed it up room by room, hosted family dinners, took vacations to boring places like Branson and Pigeon Forge. Rachel wanted kids eventually, but we'd agreed to wait until we were more financially stable. Looking back, maybe that should have been a red flag. She never seemed as motivated to save money as I was. We'd spend weekends at Home Depot picking out tiles and paint colors. I'd come home from work to find Rachel had rearranged the living room furniture again, always chasing some new design trend she'd seen on social media. The kitchen remodel took us 3 months. I did most of the work myself on weekends, installing cabinets and countertops while she picked out decorative hardware that cost twice what the functional stuff would have run. Money was always a point of friction, though I didn't see it as a red flag at the time. I'd suggest putting extra money toward retirement. She'd want to upgrade the guest bathroom that nobody used. I'd propose a modest vacation. She'd find some resort that cost 3 times my budget. We'd compromise, which usually meant I'd agree to spend more than I was comfortable with to keep the peace. My mother, Linda, 64 female, absolutely adored Rachel from day one. Treated her like the daughter she never had, took her shopping, invited her to ladies' lunches, the whole 9 yards. They'd spend hours on the phone talking about recipes and home decor and whatever else. It was actually kind of nice at first. My mom had someone else to focus on besides micromanaging my life. Mom had always been the type to have opinions about everything I did. When I was in college, she'd call twice a week to make sure I was eating properly and going to class. When I bought my first car, she spent an hour lecturing me about the maintenance schedule. When I got my engineering degree, she suggested I should have gone into medicine instead. Having Rachel around seemed to redirect that energy, which I stupidly thought was a good thing. But there was always this weird dynamic where Mom would side with Rachel on everything. If we had a disagreement about finances, Mom would call and tell me I was being too controlling. If Rachel complained about me working late, Mom would lecture me about priorities. It created this 2-against-1 situation that I mostly ignored, because I figured that's just how family works sometimes. My younger brother Derek, 30 male, lived about 2 hours away with his wife and 2 kids. We weren't super close. He was always the golden child growing up. Could do no wrong in Mom's eyes. Still, we got along fine at family gatherings, kept things cordial. The whole situation exploded on a random Tuesday evening in March. I'd been working late finishing calculations for a project deadline. Got home around 8, expecting Rachel to be watching one of her reality shows. Instead, the house was dark except for the bedroom light. Figured she'd gone to bed early. Walked into the bedroom and there they were. Rachel and some guy I'd never seen before, both scrambling to cover themselves with sheets. The look on her face, pure panic mixed with guilt, told me everything I needed to know before anyone said a word. The scene felt surreal, like I was watching it happen to someone else. My brain was processing details in this weird, detached way. The guy's expensive watch on my nightstand, Rachel's clothes scattered across the floor I'd vacuumed that weekend, the smell of cologne I didn't recognize, the sheets we'd picked out together at Target 6 months ago, now wrapped around someone who wasn't me. The guy started stammering something, pulling the sheet up to his chest like modesty mattered now. Rachel was frozen, mouth open, no sound coming out. For about 5 seconds, nobody moved. It was like someone had hit pause on the worst movie ever made. Then Rachel found her voice. "This isn't what it looks like." I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. It looks like my wife is in bed with another man. In my house. In my bed. What else could it possibly look like? The guy turned out to be Kyle, a pharmaceutical sales rep who'd been calling on her dental office for the past 6 months. Started getting dressed with this panicked urgency. Real smooth talker type. Nice car in my driveway. Expensive watch on my nightstand. The kind of dude who probably had a memorized pickup routine that worked on bored office managers who were looking for something more exciting than their stable, boring husbands. Look, man, I'm sorry, Kyle started. Get out of my house. He didn't need to be told twice. Grabbed his shoes and practically ran out of the bedroom. Heard the front door slam about 30 seconds later. His car peeled out of my driveway fast enough to leave rubber on the concrete I'd pressure washed last month. Rachel was crying now. Sheet pulled up to her neck. Please, let me explain. I didn't yell or throw punches or do any of that dramatic nonsense you see in movies. Just stood there for maybe 20 seconds total, letting the reality sink in and watching her scramble for words that might somehow make this okay. Then I turned around and walked out, grabbed my laptop and work bag from the home office, unplugged my phone charger from the kitchen, took my truck keys from the hook by the door, and left. Heard Rachel calling after me, then running down the hallway, but I just kept walking. She appeared at the front door in a bathrobe as I was climbing into my truck. Where are you going? We need to talk about this. I started the engine. She ran toward the truck in bare feet. Please, don't leave like this. Let me explain. I backed out of the driveway while she stood there crying in the bathrobe I'd bought her for Christmas. Drove away without looking back, hands steady on the wheel even though my entire world had just imploded. Drove to my buddy James's place. He and his wife put me up in their guest room. No questions asked. Well, James asked one question. You good, man? I told him what happened. He just nodded and handed me the guest room key. James and I had been friends since college, worked together at my first engineering job before he moved to a different firm. The kind of friend who helps you move without complaining and shows up with tools when you mention a project. His wife Amy was equally solid. She appeared with fresh towels and told me to stay as long as I needed. That night, lying in James's guest bed, staring at the ceiling, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Rachel was texting every few minutes, the messages getting progressively more desperate and incoherent. Please come home. We need to talk. I'm so sorry. It was a huge mistake. He means nothing to me. You're the only one I love. Please answer me. I can't lose you. This is killing me. I read every single one. Didn't respond to any. What was there to say? She'd made her choice when she brought another man into our bed. Around midnight, she tried a different approach. Started sending long paragraphs about how the marriage had been struggling, how she'd felt neglected with me working so much, how Kyle had just been there at the right time when she was feeling vulnerable. Classic blame shifting. Somehow my working to provide for us had caused her to sleep with someone else. The next morning, I woke up to 17 more messages and 9 missed calls. Rachel had moved from apologetic to angry. The least you could do is respond, I'm your wife. You can't just ignore me forever. Actually, I could. Watch me. That night, lying in James's guest bed, I started making a list. Not an emotional list, a practical one. Assets, accounts, timeline, next steps. That's how my brain works. When everything's falling apart, you focus on the controllable parts. The house, purchased before marriage with inheritance money, should be mine. The cars. My truck was mine before marriage. Her sedan was joint. Retirement accounts. Mostly my contributions from before we met, with some growth during marriage. Joint savings. About 30 grand that would need to be split. Wedding rings. Mine to keep since she broke the marriage. I filled 3 pages in a notebook with calculations, asset lists, and action items. James found me at his kitchen table at 2 in the morning with spreadsheets and legal pad notes spread everywhere. You know lawyers can handle most of this, right? I know. But I need to understand every detail before I walk into that office. Can't protect what you don't know you have. He grabbed 2 drinks from the fridge and sat down. Want to talk about what you're feeling? Not particularly. Fair enough. Want help organizing that mess? We spent the next hour categorizing everything. James had been through a rough breakup years ago and knew the value of documentation. By 3 a.m., I had a clear picture of exactly what was mine, what was ours, and what I could walk away from. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Found one through a colleague's recommendation. Sharp woman named Patricia, who didn't mess around with emotional handholding. She was all business, which is exactly what I needed. Do you want to try to save the marriage? She asked during our first meeting. No. I want a clean divorce. Fair split of marital assets, and I want it done quickly. She nodded. Makes my job easier. Let's talk about what you own. The house had been purchased before marriage using my inheritance, so it wasn't marital property. My retirement accounts were mostly pre-marriage contributions with some growth during marriage. Our only joint assets were a savings account with about 30 grand in her car, which we'd bought together 3 years ago. Patricia laid it out clearly. The savings gets split 50-50. The car depends on whose name is on the title. Everything else you brought into the marriage stays yours. The car was in both our names, so that would need to be addressed. Fine. I could handle splitting one car and 15,000 from savings. Small price to pay for a clean exit. I stayed at James's place for 3 days, not responding to Rachel's increasingly frantic texts and calls. She went through the entire emotional spectrum: apologies, justifications, anger, bargaining, more apologies. I read them all, responded to none. On day 4, Mom called. "Sweetheart, Rachel told me what happened. You need to come home and work this out." "Not happening, Mom." "Don't be dramatic. Couples go through rough patches. You can't just throw away 7 years over one mistake." That word, mistake. Like Rachel had accidentally grabbed the wrong carton of milk at the grocery store instead of deliberately bringing another man into our bed. "It wasn't a mistake, Mom. Mistakes are accidental. This was a choice. She's devastated. She made a stupid decision, but she loves you. You need to forgive her and move past this." I kept my voice level. "I'm filing for divorce. I'll be in touch about picking up my stuff from the house." "You're making a huge mistake. Marriage requires forgiveness. Your father and I had problems too, but we worked through them." "Dad cheated on you?" Silence. "No, but we had our issues. You're being stubborn and prideful. Rachel deserves another chance. She had 7 years of chances to not sleep with someone else. She blew it. I'm done with this conversation." I hung up. Mom called back 4 times. I didn't answer. 2 days later, I went to the house with James to pack my things. Rachel was at work. I'd confirmed her schedule before going. Took my clothes, my tools, my personal items, my grandfather's antique clock from the mantel. Left everything else. Took me about 3 hours to load up my truck and James's truck. As we were finishing, Rachel's car pulled into the driveway. She rushed in, eyes red from crying. "Please, can we just talk about this?" "Nothing to talk about. My lawyer will be in touch. I made a terrible mistake. It meant nothing. I'll do anything to fix this." James, bless him, stepped between us. "Man said he's done. Let him get his stuff and go." Rachel turned on James. "This is between us. You don't understand what we have?" "Had," I corrected from behind James. "What we had. Past tense." I walked out to my truck, loaded the last box, and drove away. Didn't look back. The real nightmare started when Mom decided to launch a full campaign to save the marriage. She called daily, leaving long voicemails about forgiveness and family values and how I was being cruel. When I stopped answering, she started showing up at my office. My boss, thankfully, was understanding and had security escort her out after the second incident. Then she recruited Derek. My brother called me on a Saturday morning. "Dude, you need to cut Mom some slack. She's just worried about you." "She's not worried about me. She's worried about Rachel." "Same thing. Rachel's family, too." "Not anymore, she's not." "Come on, man. People make mistakes. You're really going to throw everything away over this?" There it was again. That word. Mistake. "Derek, let me ask you something. If Sarah cheated on you, would you take her back?" Long pause. "That's different." "How?" "Sarah wouldn't do that. Neither would Rachel, apparently, until she did. I'm done with this conversation." He called back. I didn't answer. He texted, "You're being selfish. Think about how this affects the family." I blocked his number. The divorce proceedings moved forward. Patricia was efficient and ruthless in the best way. Rachel's lawyer tried to claim she deserved more because she'd contributed to the household, but Patricia shut that down with financial records showing I'd paid about 70% of all bills during the marriage. Rachel contested nothing except one thing. She wanted to keep living in the house. Said she couldn't afford to find another place right away and needed time. "Absolutely not," I told Patricia. "She can move in with her parents or her boyfriend or wherever. She's not staying in my house." Patricia smiled. "That's what I thought you'd say. I'll file for immediate possession." The judge sided with me. The house was mine before marriage. I'd paid the mortgage with my inheritance money, and Rachel had no legal claim to it. She had 30 days to vacate. During this time, Mom ramped up her efforts. She wrote me a 5-page letter about disappointment and family loyalty and how I was making the biggest mistake of my life. Showed up at church, a place I hadn't been to in years, but she knew I'd started attending with James's family. Made a scene in the parking lot before the pastor gently asked her to leave. She even contacted my boss, trying to explain that I was going through a difficult time and might need support and understanding. My boss called me into his office, looking uncomfortable. "Your mother reached out to me. I'm sorry. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. She seems very concerned about your personal life." She's concerned about the wrong person's personal life. It won't affect my work. He nodded. I know it won't. You're one of my best engineers. Just wanted you to know she contacted me. I called Mom that night. The first time I'd actually spoken to her in weeks. You contacted my boss? Are you out of your mind? Someone needs to make you see reason. You're destroying your life. No, Mom. Rachel destroyed my marriage when she slept with someone else. I'm just cleaning up the mess. And if you ever contact my employer again, I will get a restraining order. Do you understand me? You wouldn't dare. Try me. I hung up and blocked her number too. The divorce finalized after 4 months. Rachel got half the savings account, her car, and whatever personal items she'd taken from the house. I kept the house, my truck, my retirement accounts, and my sanity. Rachel moved in with Kyle, the pharmaceutical rep. Heard through mutual friends that she'd been seeing him for 6 months before I caught them. 6 months of lies and sneaking around while I worked late to provide for us. The anger had mostly faded by the time I heard that, replaced by something closer to relief. Dodged a bigger bullet by catching it when I did. Mom continued her campaign through Derek, through mutual family friends, through church people. Always the same message. I was throwing away family over pride. I was being unforgiving. I was going to regret this someday. I changed my number, moved to a different church, made it clear to mutual friends that any attempt to relay messages from Mom or Rachel would end our friendship. Most people respected that. The ones who didn't got cut off too. James and his wife became my main support system. They never questioned my decisions, never tried to play mediator. Just let me exist without judgment. James helped me repaint the bedroom. Couldn't stand looking at those walls anymore. His wife helped me pick out new furniture to replace the stuff Rachel had taken. You're rebuilding, she told me while we assembled a new bed frame. That's healthy. I focused on work. Took on extra projects, stayed late, threw myself into calculations and designs. Got promoted to senior engineer after successfully completing a major commercial complex project. The raise was substantial, enough that I could max out my retirement contributions and still have plenty left over. Started going to the gym with James, lost 15 pounds, gained muscle, felt better physically than I had in years. Turns out when you're not spending every evening on the couch watching reality TV you don't care about, you have time for self-improvement. I joined a recreational softball league, made new friends who knew nothing about my divorce drama. Just showed up, played ball, grabbed food afterward. Simple, drama-free socializing. 6 months post-divorce, I went on my first date. Met Sarah through the softball league. She played on the women's team that practiced after ours. Engineer like me worked for a different firm. We grabbed coffee after practice one night. Talked about work and sports and nothing heavy. Full disclosure, I told her on date 3. I got divorced this year. Wife cheated. It's been finalized for a few months, but I wanted you to know. She nodded. Appreciate the honesty. I got divorced 2 years ago. Different reasons, but I get it. Are you over it? Getting there. Some days are better than others. That's fair. We took things slow. She had her own place, her own career, her own life. Didn't need me to fix anything or provide anything except decent company. It was refreshing. Mom, of course, heard about Sarah through the family grapevine. Derek's wife saw us at a restaurant and reported back. That's when Mom started trying to reach out again through Derek. The messages came through Derek's wife's Facebook. Your mom really wants to talk to you. She misses you. Family is forever. She's not doing well. I ignored them all. Then, 8 months after I'd walked away from both Mom and Rachel, Derek called James. James knocked on my door on a Wednesday evening. Derek called me. Your mom's in the hospital. My stomach dropped. What happened? Heart attack. She's stable now, but it was serious. Derek thinks you should know. I sat down on my couch, processing. Part of me wanted to feel nothing. After everything she'd done, after choosing Rachel over her own son, why should I care? But she was still my mom. The woman who'd raised me, been there for every childhood injury and success, taught me to ride a bike and balance a checkbook. He say anything else? Just that she's asking for you. Wants to talk before... James paused. He didn't say it directly, but reading between the lines, she might not have much time. They're doing tests to see how much damage there was. I stared at my hands. She chose Rachel over me, told me I was wrong for not forgiving someone who cheated on me, harassed me at work, tried to manipulate everyone around me into pressuring me to take back my cheating wife. I know, man. I'm not telling you what to do, just passing along the message. Did Derek say how bad it is? They're talking about bypass surgery. She's on a waiting list. But the doctors are concerned about another attack before they can operate. I spent that night unable to sleep, mind racing through memories. Mom teaching me to cook her spaghetti sauce recipe. Mom crying at my college graduation. Mom telling me Rachel was perfect for me when we first started dating. Mom telling me I was throwing away my family over pride. The next morning, I called Derek's wife, Michelle. How bad is it, really? Michelle's voice was soft. The doctors are saying if the surgery goes well, she could have years left. But she needs to make lifestyle changes and reduce stress. The attack was severe. They're monitoring her closely. Derek said she wants to talk to me. She does. She's been asking for you since she woke up. Says she needs to mend bridges before it's too late. There it was. Mend bridges. Like our relationship was a minor structural issue instead of something she'd actively demolished. I'll think about it. She's your mother. Whatever happened between you, she loves you. She had a funny way of showing it. I hung up and called Patricia, my divorce lawyer. She'd become something of a trusted advisor through the whole mess. I need a reality check. My mom's in the hospital. Heart attack. She wants to mend bridges before possible surgery. After everything she did, do I owe her a visit? Patricia was quiet for a moment. Legally? No. You don't owe anyone anything. Morally? That's above my pay grade. But I'll tell you what I tell all my clients going through family drama. You have to live with your decisions. Can you live with not seeing her if something happens? Can you live with seeing her and getting pulled back into manipulation? Only you know the answer. That weekend, I drove to the hospital. Didn't tell anyone I was coming, just showed up at visiting hours and asked for Linda's room. She looked smaller somehow. All the fire and fight I remembered was gone, replaced by this fragile woman in a hospital gown hooked up to monitors. Her face lit up when she saw me. You came. I sat in the chair near her bed, keeping distance between us. Michelle said you wanted to talk. I've had a lot of time to think lying here, about priorities and what matters. She took a shaky breath. I'm sorry for how I handled things with Rachel. I waited. Years of engineering work taught me patience. Sometimes you need to let people finish explaining the problem before you can assess the solution. I thought I was helping. I thought if I could just get you two to reconcile, everything would go back to normal. I didn't want to see the family break apart. So you took her side, made me the bad guy for having boundaries. I wasn't trying to make you the bad guy. I just thought... She stopped, closing her eyes. I thought if I pushed hard enough, you'd forgive her, and we could all move forward. I didn't understand why you wouldn't just work through it. Because she betrayed me, Mom. For 6 months, she lied to me every single day while sleeping with someone else. That's not something you work through. That's something you walk away from. I see that now. I really do. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. I made everything worse. Pushed you away when you needed support. I chose the wrong person. I didn't respond immediately. Part of me wanted to stand up and leave. Let her sit with the consequences of her choices, the way I'd had to sit with Rachel's betrayal. Another part recognized that this woman was genuinely remorseful, in a way she'd never been before. Why? I finally asked. Why did you fight so hard for her instead of me? Mom wiped her eyes with a tissue. I loved Rachel like a daughter. When she called me crying, saying she'd made a mistake and you wouldn't forgive her, I just wanted to fix it. I wanted my family intact. I didn't think about what you were going through. I only thought about what I was losing. You weren't losing anything. I was the one who lost something. I know that now. Being here, thinking I might die without making this right, it puts things in perspective. She reached toward me but didn't quite touch me. I'm sorry I wasn't the mother you needed during the worst time of your life. I'm sorry I prioritized my feelings over yours. I'm sorry I tried to manipulate you into doing what I wanted, instead of supporting your decision. The apology sounded genuine, but I'd been burned before by people who said what they thought I wanted to hear. Where's Rachel now? I don't know. Haven't talked to her in months. That surprised me. What happened? After you got divorced, I kept expecting her to come around, but she just disappeared. Stopped returning calls. Derek ran into her at a store once. She's still with that man. She didn't even ask about you. Good. I hope they're very happy together. Mom looked at me carefully. You mean that, don't you? You're really over it. I've been over it for months, Mom. I moved on with my life, got promoted at work, made new friends, started dating someone who treats me with respect. The divorce was the best thing that could have happened to me. Derek mentioned you're seeing someone. Sarah, she's an engineer. We have a lot in common. Is it serious? It's good. We're taking our time. Mom nodded slowly. I want to meet her someday. If you'll let me. If you can forgive me enough to let me back into your life. Here was the question I'd been wrestling with since James gave me the news. Could I let her back in? Should I? I don't know if I can forgive you yet, I said honestly. You really hurt me. It wasn't just taking Rachel's side. It was all of it. Showing up at my work, harassing my boss, trying to manipulate everyone around me into pressuring me. You made one of the worst times of my life even harder. I know. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough right now. I need to see that things are different, that you actually understand why what you did was wrong. I do understand. I swear I do. Okay, then here's what needs to happen if you want me back in your life. I leaned forward, making sure she heard every word. First, you acknowledge that I made the right decision divorcing Rachel. Not just that you're sorry for how you acted, that you actually agree with my choice. Mom hesitated, then nodded. You made the right choice. She betrayed you. You deserved better. Second, you accept that Sarah is in my life now, and you will treat her with respect. No comparing her to Rachel, no comments about moving too fast, no interference. I promise. Third, Derek doesn't get to be your messenger anymore. If you want to talk to me, you talk to me directly like an adult. No more using other people to guilt trip me. Agreed. And fourth, this is non-negotiable. If you ever try to manipulate me or the people in my life again, I'm done. Permanently. No second chances. I will walk away and never look back. Mom's eyes filled with tears again, but she nodded. I understand. I won't let you down again. We'll see. I stayed for another 20 minutes, making awkward small talk about her doctors and her recovery plan. When visiting hours ended, I stood to leave. Will you come back? She asked. Maybe. Let's see how the surgery goes and take it from there. I left the hospital feeling weird. Not good exactly, but not as heavy as I'd felt walking in. Mom's apology seemed genuine, but I'd need to see if her actions matched her words before I let my guard down completely. Called James on the drive home. Saw Mom. She apologized. Actually seemed to mean it. How do you feel about that? Conflicted. Part of me wants to believe her. Another part remembers how she treated me and thinks this is just another manipulation. Give it time. See if she follows through on what she promised. People can change, but they have to prove it. Yeah, that's the plan. The next few weeks were weird. Mom went through bypass surgery successfully. I sent flowers but didn't visit. Wasn't ready for that yet. She texted me thank you messages that were brief and respectful, not pushy or guilt-trippy. Small improvement. Derek called to update me on her recovery. For the first time in months, we had a normal conversation without him lecturing me about family obligations. She's doing better. Doctor says she needs to take it easy for a while, make some lifestyle changes. She's been asking about you. I'm not ready for regular visits yet. She understands. She told me to tell you. He paused. Actually, she told me not to play messenger anymore. Said she'd text you herself when she's ready. Good. Look, man, I'm sorry for how I acted during your divorce. Mom had me convinced you were being unreasonable. I should have supported you instead of ganging up on you. The apology caught me off guard. Thanks for saying that. Sarah seems cool from what I've heard. Maybe we could all grab food sometime? Me, Michelle, you and Sarah? Maybe eventually. Let's take it slow. Fair enough. A month after the surgery, Mom asked if I'd come to Sunday dinner. Just me, not Sarah yet. She didn't want to overwhelm anyone. I agreed, mostly to see if she'd actually changed, or if this was temporary hospital-induced remorse. She'd lost weight, moved slower, looked tired. But she smiled when she saw me and hugged me carefully, mindful of her healing sternum. Thank you for coming. Dinner was awkward at first. We'd spent so many months not talking that conversation felt stilted. But gradually, we found our rhythm again. She asked about work, about my projects, about Sarah. Didn't pry, didn't judge, just listened. She sounds wonderful. I'd like to meet her when you're ready. I'll think about it. Toward the end of dinner, Mom set down her fork and looked at me seriously. I've been seeing a counselor, someone who specializes in family dynamics. She's helped me understand that I was wrong, not just about how I acted, but about the fundamental situation. You were the victim, and I made you feel like the villain. I didn't know what to say to that. I'm working on being better, not just for you, but for myself. I need to learn to respect boundaries and let people make their own choices without trying to control everything. That's good, Mom. I'm glad you're getting help. I know I can't undo what I did, but I'm hoping eventually you might let me be part of your life again. Not like before. I don't expect things to go back to how they were, but maybe we can build something new, something healthier. I thought about it. Maybe we can, but it's going to take time. I understand. I'll wait as long as it takes. 3 months post-surgery, Mom seemed genuinely different. She'd text occasionally, but never pushed for responses. Sent birthday cards without lengthy, guilt-inducing messages. Respected my boundaries when I said I wasn't ready for family gatherings yet. Sarah and I went to dinner at Mom's house for the first time 4 months after the surgery. I was nervous, ready to shut down any drama, but Mom was gracious and kind. Asked Sarah about her work, her family, her interests. No comparisons to Rachel, no inappropriate questions, just genuine interest in getting to know the woman I was dating. After dinner, while Sarah was using the restroom, Mom pulled me aside. She's lovely. I can see why you're happy. Thanks, Mom. I'm proud of you for knowing what you deserved and not settling for less. I should have told you that from the beginning. That actually meant something. The weight I'd been carrying since she chose Rachel over me lightened just a bit. 6 months after the hospital visit, Derek, Michelle, Mom, Sarah, and I all had dinner together. First time the family had been in the same room since before my divorce. It was surprisingly normal. No one mentioned Rachel. No one brought up the past. We just existed together, sharing a meal and conversation like functional people. This is nice, Sarah whispered to me while loading the dishwasher after dinner. Your family seems great. They're getting there, I replied. Still a work in progress, but better than before. That's where things stand now. Mom and I talk regularly, but there's still a guardedness on my part that might never fully go away. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal completely. But we're rebuilding something that works for both of us. Derek and I are brothers again. Not as close as we could have been if he'd supported me from the start, but close enough to grab food occasionally and text about sports. Sarah and I are talking about moving in together, taking our time, doing it right, making sure we're both ready. She's met my friends, I've met her family, and everything feels solid in a way my marriage to Rachel never did. I saw Rachel once, about 7 months post-divorce. She was at a restaurant with Kyle, looking miserable despite the fancy setting. She saw me with Sarah, and her face went through this journey of recognition, to regret to forced indifference. I nodded politely and kept walking. Whatever she was dealing with wasn't my problem anymore. Some guys on Reddit say I should have stayed no contact with Mom permanently, that her deathbed apology was just manipulation, and she'd revert to old patterns eventually. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm setting myself up for disappointment. But here's what I know. Holding on to anger and cutting people off forever felt righteous in the moment, but it was exhausting long term. Not because I missed Mom's harassment or interference, but because I missed having a mother. The hospital scare made me realize that people are imperfect, and sometimes they need a serious wake-up call to recognize how badly they've messed up. Could she backslide? Absolutely. Do I have my guard up? Completely. But she's shown actual change over sustained time, respected my boundaries, and put in the work to understand where she went wrong. That's more than most people in her position would do. As for Rachel, I heard through mutual friends she and Kyle broke up after about 8 months. Apparently, the excitement of an affair doesn't translate well to actual relationship work. She tried to reach out to me once. Some rambling text about mistakes and regrets that I deleted without responding. That chapter is closed, sealed, buried. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.